everybody, good afternoon. It is part 2 of our Mr. Men today, Mr. Tickle in a Tangle. It's also very sadly our last Mr. Men and Little Miss book of the week, which means we are done for this week. Now at the end of this video I'm going to introduce what our stories are going to be for next week. So to finish us off, the book is Mr. Tickle in a Tangle. Now, who does that extraordinarily long arm belong to? Of course, Mr. Tickle. And Mr. Tickle's long arms come in very handy. They can reach kites caught in trees. They can answer the phone when Mr. Tickle is in the bath. But most importantly, they are splendidly perfect for tickling people around corners. Tickling people through upstairs windows. And even tickling people on the other side of letterboxes. However, there are days when those extraordinarily long arms are not so handy. Days when they are nothing but a nuisance. Days like last Monday. Mr. Tickle was lying in bed eating breakfast when he heard his garden gate open. It was Mr. Stamp, the postman. Quick as a flash, Mr. Tickle sent one of his long arms down the stairs to tickle Mr. Stamp. Or that is what he intended to do, but somehow or other his arm got tangled up in the banisters. Poor Mr. Tickle. It took him an hour to untangle his arm. The letter Mr. Stamp had delivered was an invitation from Mr. Uppity for lunch at the Grand Hotel. Mr. Tickle took the bus to town and sat on the upper deck. Mr. Tickle sent one of his long arms down the stairs to tickle the bus driver. But somehow or other the ticket inspector had trod on his arm. Ouch! Mr. Tickle arrived at the Grand Hotel and rushed through the revolving door. Or rather he tried to, but somehow or other his arms caught in the door. The fire brigade had to be called out to untangle his arms, by which time he had missed lunch. Poor Mr. Tickle, no lunch and even worse, no tickles. It was a very sad Mr. Tickle who set off for home. Suddenly he heard something. He stopped. Somebody was approaching from around the corner. Mr. Tickle smiled to himself and sent both his arms around the corner to tickle that somebody. But that somebody was Little Miss Naughty, and she tied those extraordinarily long arms together in a knot. When he got home, Mr. Tickle fell back into his armchair. What a terrible day! Not one tickle! Suddenly there was a knock at the door. It was Little Miss Tiny. Mr. Tickle stretched out one of his extraordinarily long arms. Well, one tickle was better than none. Even if it was only a tiny tickle. The end. That's a lovely story, Mr. Tickle in a Tangle. Well, that is the end of our Mr. Men and Little Miss Story Week. Next week, I am going to only be doing one story a day, but we are going to look at the Alfie books by Shirley Hughes. Now, I grew up with these books, so I absolutely love them, and I've got a mixture of them. So that is what we're going to be looking at and reading next week. I hope you've enjoyed this week. Please leave me some comments, whether it's on here or on Facebook, where the page will be in the description below. And let me know whether you'd like this week and what type of themed weeks you'd like seeing going forward, seeing as we have got 3 more weeks of our story times. Anyway, see you soon. Don't forget to subscribe and like the page in the description, and I'll see you later. Bye!